to do something about mass shootings, political division, and acts of violence, don't we? For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. This is BreakPoint. Americans are afraid, perhaps more than any time since 9/11, and it's understandable. Despite the fact that most of us are safer today than we think, the sheer evil that's behind a mass shooting or a violent attack is put right in our face by a 24-hour news cycle. And then, of course, there's the whole uncertainty of it all. Since El Paso and Dayton, there's been a deadly knife attack in California, a highway shooting in Houston, and an armed guy in fatigues who walked into a Missouri Wal-Mart with 100 rounds of ammo. When people are afraid, they either lash out, just watch the news or go on social media to see this, or they look for something, often anything, that can save them from what they fear. The public outcry in the last few weeks was articulated by what protesters demanded of the president during his visit to Dayton last week. Do something, they said. As I said to Warren Smith in our discussion this past Friday on BreakPoint This Week, I find the command to do something troubling on two levels. First, do something is a cry for help. It's not a strategy and it's not a tactic. Doing something isn't helpful if it's the wrong thing or if it's an irrelevant thing. Doing something might even be the worst thing you could do. We have to know what to do, and that requires being clear on what the problem is. The only thing made clear in all the debates since the most recent shootings and violent outbursts is that we're not clear about what the problem is. And second, the demand to do something is almost always addressed at the government. The demands are almost always directed to the president or the governor or Congress. That says something troubling about us as a people. We're looking to government to fix all of our problems. The problem of alienated, often fatherless young men espousing either hateful extremism or nihilistic meaningless who aim their anger and violence at the defenseless? Well, that's not government caused, and it can't be government fixed. Our tendency to think that all problems must be politically understood, are politically motivated, and can only be politically fixed is symptomatic of something that Chuck Colson used to talk about a lot, and something we still talk about on BreakPoint, the political illusion. But no policy, no political ideology, no bureaucracy can heal wounded psyches, can rebuild the mediating institutions of civil society, or can provide meaning and a sense of belonging, or can overcome hatred with love. Those tasks belong to the very institutions that have been dismissed and even dismantled across our society, especially the family and the church. As Thane Bellamo wrote over at The Federalist, the decline of these institutions is mirrored not only in the rise in mass shooters, but more broadly in a host of statistics that reveal an epidemic of despair. As Bellamo points out, in the first 17 years of this century, suicide rates have risen 14%, and the death rate from drug overdoses increased by a mind-boggling 400%. In the midst of that level of cultural chaos and in this current climate of fear, our hope is not in government or legislation, as important as those are. I'll quote Chuck Colson again here. Where is the hope, he asks. The hope that each of us have is not in who governs us or what laws are passed or what great things that we do as a nation. Our hope is in the power of God working through the hearts of people. That's where our hope is in this country. That's where our hope is in life. As Warren Smith said during our BreakPoint This Week conversation, it's gut check time for the church. God has appointed us in this time and in this place to live out our faith, to bring the hope and peace of Christ to our friends, our families, our neighbors, our communities, even to the frightened, the hate-filled, and the alienated. That's the something that we must do. For BreakPoint, I'm John Stonestreet.